And we are live. It's showtime. Cue up theme song.
Yeah, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Keep your ears open for this one now. Got a question for RLM? It's trying to get some answers, baby. Oh, now we get real. Get down. It's gonna feel good now.
Never gets old, that theme song. Thank you, Nathan Norrington, wherever you are. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, Global Happiness Specialist, Rebecca L. Norrington, Happiness Specialist, Inner Peace Practitioner, Oracle, Reiki practitioner, fitness instructor, mother, but most importantly, a student. Ongoing. This class is never ending, never, ever ending. And with this show is almost 15 years. I believe I calculated between 12 and 15 years old, continuous. And with my own personal growth, my own personal expanding, so is the show. And I have to say that today's show is on another level. Today's show is on a level, I'm going to say 3. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is people that are curious and are drawn to. And when I say happiness, happiness specialist, what I'm talking about is maintaining an energy, a personal vibration of peace, a personal vibration of contentment. It is an energy. It is not, forget the word. It's how do you maintain and how do you sustain that energy of contentment, regardless of what happens in this life and regardless of the experience and regardless of what's out there, the external experience. How do you internally remain? How do you internally keep that? How do you hold on to? How are you? Is it possible to stay rooted in the energy of contentment? That's it. And let me give you my definition of happiness. My definition is the ability to maintain and sustain an energy of peace, regardless of what happens. And when I say happiness, it is a state of mind. It is a state of being. It is an energy state. And it's all with practice. That's the good news. Happiness, contentment, inner peace, they're all practice skills. And what I do is to share with whoever is inspired to listen what to practice and what to eliminate. Question. Can other people hurt your feelings? Can other people offend you? Can other people disappoint you? Do you blame your feelings on other people? Do you blame your circumstances? Do you blame your circumstances on how you feel? And so those are questions that you can answer, that you can ask yourself to determine in any moment. And there's no judgment here. All I'm doing is sharing what I practice and what I've been practicing for 45 years. So there's nothing wrong with these human accomplishments, titles, wealth, accolades, fame, trophies, awards, social media likes, or even amassing millions of followers. But the truth is that none of these external things, and I don't care who you are, none of those things contribute to this energy of contentment, contribute to happiness, contribute to contribute to maintaining a self contribute to containing, scratch the containing, peace. So in any moment, you are either vibrating a energy of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So do you think vibrating dissatisfaction is going to add to your peace or subtract? You're either vibrating satisfaction or dissatisfaction. You are either vibrating contentment or drama. And so when I say practice, it is the question is, how much do you, my dear audience, how much do you value an energy of contentment? And I'm not talking about don't do anything, don't accomplish anything. No, I'm talking about what's going on underneath that. And that's the show in a nutshell. But before we go to today's topic, and it's a topic for all the, let's say, when I say level 3, I'm going to use the word advanced, but only for content. Anyone that is on this journey of seeking, searching, that what's it all about, Alfie? Anyone that is on that journey, seriously on that journey, committed to, focused on, prioritize that journey, will be able to understand level 3. Before I go on, what I usually share is there's a study. It's called The 5 Most Common Regrets of the Dying. And this was a few years ago, decades ago. And it was done by a hospice nurse. Her name is Bronnie Ware. You can look it up. 5 Most Common Regrets of the Dying. And so these people had, her patients, scratch that, her patients had days to live, weeks to live, months to live. And she asked them, what are your 5 biggest regrets, if you could list them? And these same regrets kept coming up over and over and over again. I think it's a very powerful study. The first regret of the dying is, I wish I would have pursued my dreams and aspirations and not the life others expected of me. And you get to that point, 1 foot, it's this human body is going to be gone. Energy lives on forever, but this human body, it's over. You get to a point where the life others expected of me, the programmed life others expected, or even the life you expected of yourself. Number 2, I wish I didn't work so hard. Number 3, I wish I had the courage. And what does the world share? Work hard, work hard. And I get it. I'm not talking about working hard, but the working hard doesn't add to contentment unless you're working hard to get to a level or find a level or maintain a level of contentment. And that's what yours truly has done for decades now. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings and speak my mind. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Sometimes we just outgrow people. If somebody's in your life, guess what? They're supposed to be there for a reason. And if they're not in your life, their time is over. No extra story, no added sauce, no added seasoning, no added spice. It's time. It's just over. And the 5th regret is, I wish I would have let myself be happier. I'm 69, almost 70. I'll be 70 in about 3.5 months. And it's very eye-opening to get to a place. Finally, thank you, universe, for after 69 years, to get to a place of feeling and being relaxed with this journey, feeling and being relaxed with all of it. And that's today's topic. Today's topic is, the ultimate experience. The ultimate experience. What is the topic? What is the topic of the, let's see, the ultimate, did I write it down? Oh yes, I did. The ultimate experience, letting go of knowing what's impossible to know. I love that. The ultimate experience, letting go of knowing what's impossible to know. I probably could have added letting go of the illusion of knowing of what's impossible to know. That means that the practice is, and I always say practice, I'm not trying to do anything, I'm practicing the practice of living in the present moment. And in fact, cue up, I just, this was in my feed today. And I want to share with you, my dear audience, this was in my, I've listened to this probably 20 times already. Just more to what to practice. Oh, this is what I wanted to share. I keep getting emails asking me, well, who are your, what do you read? What books, you know, what authors, what books, what teachers? And I'm going to say that in no particular order, but Dr. David Hawkins, in fact, that's what this little excerpt that I'm going to share. David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins. And if you don't know who that is, just Google him, go on YouTube and watch any of his talks. David Hawkins, at Hawkins. Eckhart Tolle, Moji, and if you don't know who Moji is, boy, are you in for a treat. Moojiji. You can go on YouTube. He's got a channel. And Abraham, of course, Abraham from Abraham Hicks. But I'm going to throw that on that was early, probably 30 years ago, 25 years ago. But those are my foundational teachers. Some, scratch that, some, but on the, if I was to list the top five, Dr. David Hawkins, Eckhart Tolle, Moji. Oh, there's another one. Hold on. Yeah. Oh, that's Dr. David Hawkins. But there's another one. M. Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled. Anyway, David Hawkins, Eckhart Tolle, Moji, Moojiji, and Abraham. So there you go. But let me go to this David Hawkins. It was in my feed. It's very powerful. Hold on. Let me try to cue this up and play this so you can hear.
Okay, how do you make the mind silent?
Mind never lives in the present. In order to survive, it has to anticipate the future, and it has to regret the past. So if you refuse those payoffs, so those are payoffs. And in order to propagate itself, what the ego hates is having nothing to do, because then it's afraid.
I'm going to start that from the beginning.
How do you make the mind silent?
Mind never lives in the present. In order to survive, it has to anticipate the future, and it has to regret the past. So if you refuse those payoffs, so those are payoffs. And in order to propagate itself, what the ego hates is having nothing to do, because then it's afraid it will no longer exist. So it keeps itself busy dreaming up problems for the future and inventing regrets over the past. Of course, neither one of them has any reality. And therefore, you stay in a state of non-reality. The only way to let have it all stop is to let go of the desire to think, which means letting go of the payoff of thinking this. And the mind says, well, if you don't think and plan, you won't survive. So you really have to, in a way, give up the will to survive. And you either survive or you don't. And that's God's problem. Well, God created you, didn't he? So, all right, so you got to take responsibility. So you have to remind him once in a while, I don't remember asking to be created, you know.
Okay, how do you make the mind silent?
So what Dr. David Hawkins is sharing is the topic of today's show, the ultimate experience of life. And giving up, he said that there is a payoff that the ego gets from, and I'm going to use myself as an example, a payoff that the ego gets putting when, air quotes, putting me in a state where I'm past, regretting the past, or living in the future. And then what he said was giving up the desire, or giving up the desire, willing to survive. And when I say survive, how I'm interpreting it is giving up all of this illusion of control, all of this illusion that I am making something happen or I am not making something happen, giving up this illusion that the world says, yes, there is the ability to guide and to steer and I'm doing it. I'm working hard. I'm causing. Oh, this is a big one. Manifesting. I'm manifesting my thoughts, and I promise you I get it, but this is a different level. This is a different level that I'm practicing staying at. And that is the mind is empty. And when it's not empty, in other words, in the present moment, when it's not empty and there are thoughts going in and out, the practice is to just witness and observe. But getting back to anytime I am consumed or possessed by, taken captive by thoughts, mind, stories, all of that. Anytime there is anything to focus that I notice, that I am aware that I'm there, my mind is taken over, realizing that this mind stays in a state of non-reality. It's not reality. And so what Dr. David Hawkins is saying is that it is at least the way I'm interpreting it, it is emptying and not wanting, scratch that, letting go of the payoff, staying in that state. So my interpretation is it's got to be empty. And when it's not empty, I'm not living in a state of reality. I'm in a state of non-reality. But it feels so real. The mind makes so much sense. It calculates, it theorizes, it analyzes, and it makes sense. But I'm here to tell you, my third level audience, that the ultimate experience is to let go of all of what the mind believes that it knows. And to be at peace with not knowing, and to be at peace with uncertainty, and to be at peace with just flowing. And when I say flowing with each present moment. I looked at a video the other day, and this gentleman said, I'm not living in the flow. Living in the flow, what the hell does that mean anyway? Flow, I'm not living in the flow. No, I said, so the practice is even accepting those that don't get it. And the other video that came across my feed this week is depending on the level of consciousness a person is at. The level of consciousness determines the amount of acceptance and the amount of not finding fault with anyone else. The higher the level of consciousness, the least amount of fault you find with someone else. And in fact, look at this one. Check this out. So two people are looking at the number 6, the number 9. And it says, just because you are right doesn't mean that the other person is wrong. You just haven't seen life from their angle. Just because you are right doesn't mean the other person is wrong. You just haven't seen life from that angle. And let me tell you something. I know I get a lot of email. I get a lot of darts thrown at me, spears thrown at me. And a lot of theorizing and a lot of hypotheticals, good and evil. I promise you, I get it. But what if, put your seatbelts on for this, what if God wanted to experience all of this? All of it, including what the human and the programming is of good and evil. I get it. I know. So I don't have any friends. And for centuries, for eons, until the beginning of time, this writing down a perspective that what if this life was even more magical, more mysterious than even that can be comprehended? What if life was so mysterious that cannot even be comprehended in this form? Or it's difficult to comprehend. And for some, it's impossible to comprehend. And that is it. When I say the ultimate experience is really just like David Hawkins said. In fact, let me just shoot this one more time. What David Hawkins said is to.
I don't remember asking the.
Okay, how do you make the mind silent?
Mind never lives in the present. In order to survive, it has to anticipate the future, and it has to regret the past. So if you refuse those payoffs, so those are payoffs. And in order to propagate itself, what the ego hates is having nothing to do, because then it's afraid it will no longer exist. So it keeps itself busy dreaming up problems for the future and inventing regrets over the past. Of course, neither one of them has any reality, and therefore you stay in a state of non-reality. The only way to have it all stop is to let go of the desire to think, which means letting go of the payoff, thinkingness. And the mind says, well, if you don't think and plan, you won't survive. So you literally have to, in a way, give up the will to survive. And you either survive or you don't. And that's God's problem. Well, God created you, didn't he? So, all right, so you got to take responsibility. So you have to remind him once in a while. I don't remember asking to be created, you know.
So getting back to what he's saying is give up the payoff that the ego gets of this thinkingness. And that is tying into today's topic of the ultimate experience. And it's not an easy place to stay. It's not an easy place to get settled in. But the more that I practice it, the more that I practice hands off the steering wheel and letting go. You know, listen, the ego has so many different disguises. And all of them, all of the disguises and all of the conclusions come back to a state of, oh, I know why. I know why this happened. I know something. But even with that, the only thing that I can know is that everything is unfolding and everything is happening to serve me while in this human form, period. And my ego will come up with with impatience, and my ego will come up with something's wrong, and my ego will come up with this conclusion that something needs to change, but I just wrote this down. Hold on a second. This was a note. Let me see recent notes. Of course, there's no. Let's see. Hold on. Let me find this. Because did I type it out? Let me find this. Here we go. Let me find it, my dear audience. And this quote calmed my spirit down even more. Hold on a second. Where is it? Oh, come on. Where is it? I'm going to find it too. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay. Okay, here we go. Yes, I found it. Here we go. The ego, the mind, is a creation. God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it, has created all of this, everything. So the creation, the ego or the mind is telling the creator that something is wrong, that something needs to be different. The ego, the mind, is a creation, and it's telling the creator with the capital C, God, that something is wrong, it needs to be different. Do you follow how deep that is? And I'm here to tell this little 2-bit small entity that really has amassed a lot of power in my life, in my past life, and definitely has a lot of power in the masses, power in the masses in the world. And most, I'm going to say 98% to 99%, are operating off of this creation, this creature that calls it, that disguises itself as you. The mind, the ego that disguises itself and has a person believing that is me. And when I use the word I or me or mine, In fact, I practice eliminating all of that. There is no I, me, Rebecca. The practice is letting go more and more and more of this fake reality that's going to be over in a matter of less than a second. Let me read my notes. And so, okay, so what also in that video, staying in the state of non-reality. So staying in the state, this is in the tape that I just played, staying in the state of non-reality, staying in the state of the belief and belief in and the belief of and the consuming, the mind consumes. I mean, it's a quicksand, it is consuming, but it is not my identity. And if it's not my identity, it's not your identity. This conversation today is on another level. It's on I'm going to say it's a level 3, and that's the top level. One level, 2, level 3, the top level. And I get it if it's not, it's a challenge to comprehend. And so the practice is, what is the practice when Rebecca goes out into the world? There's a lot of listening. There's a lot of listening. There's a lot of understanding. There's a lot of acceptance that unless a person knows the truth about this existence, it is impossible. It is almost impossible it is almost impossible to have a conversation on another level. The understanding, I practice meeting people where they are, but there is another level. In fact, I was talking to someone today at the gym, and we're talking about the double slit experiment. And he was saying, yeah, you believe, I said, everything is energy. And you think a rock has consciousness. And so the point is, we are all as different as our fingerprints, and meeting somebody at their level is just is just what God does, is just what the universe does. And what David Hawkins said is giving up the willingness or giving up the will to survive, meaning this human existence, giving up, I mean, yeah, living in the world, but giving up the mind and giving up the ego and knowing the truth that this existence, number one, is temporary, and this human existence is temporary, and it is all being steered and guided and propelled by a creator through this human. That was a tough one today. State of non-reality, payoffs. So according to David Hawkins, there is a payoff of believing, of staying in that state, of finding fault with whatever's unfolding. There's a payoff living in the past. There's a payoff living in the future. And so the question becomes, what is valued? And for me in this existence, it's contentment to the max. It's peace to the max. And that is achieved by letting go, surrendering without resistance, trusting and knowing that everything is in divine order. And when I say everything, I mean everything. That's the end of today's show. By the way, my latest book, Program for Unhappiness. Program for Unhappiness, it is on Amazon, Exposing the Untold Truth. In this book, I list 56 program behaviors that subtract from happiness, from peace, from contentment. And I also list 26 behaviors that you can practice that will add to contentment, peace, and happiness. That's the end of today's show. Let me get my outro. That's the end of today's show. Thank you for listening. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Reality Spirituality is also my Instagram handle. Follow me on X at RL Norrington, LinkedIn. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. And my YouTube channel is also Rebecca Norrington. My first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon. And I just showed you my latest book, Program for Unhappiness, is out on Amazon. My third book, I've already got the title. It's going to be Questions, Answers, and Quotes. And the fourth book is going to be called Program Relationships. Until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe, your conscious energy, which is always evolving, always changing, always growing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself by accepting every moment, accepting yourself in every moment. Be your own best friend. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, global happiness specialist, Rebecca L. Norrington. And remember, happiness is a practice skill. And I promise you, the more you practice and the more you value peace over drama, and the more you value contentment over dissatisfaction, and the more you practice that, your practice will reflect your energy. Have a conscious week. One of these days. Of course, I'm queuing up the theme song, and you know what's funny? I was talking to somebody at the gym the other day, and he's probably in his 80s. He was talking about getting embarrassed. I said, you still get embarrassed? 84, 85 years old? The only reason why people get embarrassed is because they care about, first of all, it's a program, and they care about what other people think. That's all embarrassment is. It's a program, and you care about what other people think. But if you learned it, you can unlearn it. So I don't care if I'm taking forever to cue up the theme song, which is...
It's time to real. It's a new experience. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Got a question for RLM? It's time to get some answers, baby. Oh, now we get real. It's time to get down. Together, you gonna feel good now.
Take time to get real.